brought to you by the QCCS Mackay Cutters.
Hi everyone, welcome to QCCS Mackay Cutters Change the Game Vodcast podcast. Episode 9 today, it's Get Up, Get Out, Get Running. I'd like to acknowledge the Yui people of the Kulin Nation and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Today we are joined by Martin Lambert from On the Run Mackay. Welcome, Marty.
Hey, good on you, Mitch. Looking forward to the conversation.
Thanks very much for joining us today and making the time. Avid runner and well known in Mackay. I'd like to learn a little bit more about your background and also we're going to talk about how running and just exercise in general was really good for people's well-being and positive mental health. And we'll link some stories and some evidence-based advice as well into why that is the fact. So I really like your slogan that runs with on your store On the Run and your running groups. So get up, get out, get running. I just relate really well to it because sometimes the hardest part can be starting. Yep. And getting out of bed, getting outdoors, and sometimes it's great to run on a treadmill if that's the only option you got. But I think when you transfer from the treadmill to outdoors, it really just opens up different avenues to where running can take you. Internal and also you can travel with running as well, and the running community is so big. Let's learn a little bit about your story, your background, and how you found running and how running found you.
Yep, certainly. Looking forward to the chat, Mitch. Should be a bit of fun. So I had a background in football, but in my football there's a round ball. And I was getting to the point where I guess I was aging a bit and I wasn't enjoying it so much, and I was probably average at best, but always enjoyed it as a good outside social activity. But when I stopped playing football, I realised that with an office job, sitting down a lot wasn't going to be too good for me. So I needed to find something. I tried triathlon. I had a cousin visiting from Scotland, and she was staying with us for a while. And the local triathlon club had an event on, and I said, "You should do that." And she said, "I'd love to, but you come with me."
What age is that?
So I would have been about 40.
Yeah.
And I went along, and I thought I was going to die at the end of that. Nearly killed me. I went to a few more events. I'm not a confident swimmer. Decided that really wasn't going to be what I wanted to do because I was doing it for joy, not for anything else. So I enjoyed riding the bike, but I loved running. So I still ride my bike a little bit. I avoid the water at all costs, and do lots of running. So I never really saw myself as a runner until I started running, and then getting into it in my 40s, I realised I was never going to be particularly fast compared to other people. So the other option was to run long. So I started doing some longer runs, and I'd probably ran about 5 marathons before I thought of myself as a runner, which when I talk to other people about it now, I mean, basically if you go outside and run, you're a runner.
Yeah.
So, but in my own mind, that wasn't me because I'd never seen myself as someone who ran. I went out and played sport, but I wasn't a runner as such. And it wasn't long before I was getting a lot from running, and I would see that like my whole outlook on life would change. And I just got such a lot from it myself that I thought I need to tell the world about this. I need to let other people know. So.
And does that relate to your mental health, like, and your well-being, and finding running? Did that have a positive effect on you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you become more effective at everything in life if you've getting regular exercise. So get up, get out, get running. You do that first thing in the morning, and the rest of your day just sort of you're more productive, you're more full of energy, your thoughts are clearer. And I've seen that. With other people that I ran with, where they've been going through difficult times in life, if you take them out for a run, the first 20 minutes of the conversation might be doom and gloom, and telling me stories about work and family situations that aren't ideal. but a little bit further on, and the conversation changes, and everything's sort of unicorns and rainbows, and the world's lovely again, and it's just because of the endorphins flowing through your body. So, it's amazing what just a bit of exercise can do.
I think it's really one thing you touched on before was identity, and with running, and how you didn't identify yourself as a runner until 5 marathons in. That personally, I've only done one, and that was only last year, and I think anyone, like you said, that goes out and goes for a run, you're a runner. You don't need to enter a marathon to be a runner.
Yep.
So I think it's pretty important, and an important message to relay that running can be for everyone, or any type of exercise. If you can't run, then other forms of exercise, you can identify and be that. You don't have to be the cardboard cutout that you see on magazine of Runner's World or whatever.
Yep, exactly. And there are so many avenues in our town for people to get up, get out, and get running. So they can go for a walk or a run, or I think it's important that people realise that they do have the option to join a walking group. I think there's about 7 different walking groups. Most of it's coordinated through the Heart Foundation. Mm-hmm. But there's walking groups in Mackay if you think that you don't want to run. There's the Lazy Runners do a Learn to Run program a few times each year. There's a worldwide phenomenon called Park Run. So every Saturday at the Botanic Gardens, there's a free 5-kilometre run. It's okay to walk at Park Run.
Yeah, it's 7 a.m.
That's at 7 o'clock. Yeah, at the Botanic Gardens, and it's a wonderful way to meet a new community of people, and to make new friends, and just be active and get out. And because there's a time and a place, it's easier to commit to that rather than I'll do it when I feel like it, or maybe I'll just turn the kettle on, or maybe it's a bit too hot.
Or you sit down on the couch and don't get up.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell us a little bit more about On The Run, your store on Nebo Road,
Mm-hmm.
and you've been in Mackay for 25 years.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about your you coming to Mackay, then you transitioning into your store of On The Run.
Yep, sure. So I born and bred in the UK, and I met a girl from Mackay who was travelling in the UK. Mm-hmm. And we got to know each other and fell in love, and she came back to Australia, and I kind of wanted to be there too. So we talked about where we would sort of settle, and we both felt that Australia would offer a brighter future for us than the UK. So we moved out here. Worked in finance for most of my life, but got to the point where I really wasn't enjoying it as much. And I'd always sort of had this sort of little niggle about I've got one more career change in me yet, mm-hmm. and didn't quite know what it was. But then a few doors started to open, and a few opportunities came my way, and it became a little bit clearer as to what I could do. And as I say, I'd found running, and I'd found the need to tell other people about running, because I think that having me discovered it for myself, I wanted other people to know, so I needed to get that message out. So I did some coaching qualifications, started coaching some people, and found that people would come to me and ask for information about different techniques or different events or different gear they needed to run with. Then I got a call from a mate, and he said, "Do you want to come to Germany as a tour guide for a couple of weeks if we fly you over there?" And I just couldn't believe it. I'd done some volunteer work for a travel company, and basically they just they needed a hand. So I said, "Yeah, I'm keen for that." And then I started to think, okay, well, maybe there are options there. Maybe there are things I can do to fill my day. And I thought that with my little shop that I had sort of started just as a part-time thing, I thought, well, if I build that up a little bit and do some of the tour guide things and maybe get involved in some events, and that'll be enough to sort of keep me going, keep me busy. So it's been interesting how it's all evolved. It's certainly got much bigger than anticipated. Mm-hmm. I got a couple of trips into Germany before the world changed, and we haven't been travelling so much in the last couple of years, but that'll perhaps come back at some stage.
Yeah, so with that in coronavirus, and last year and this year especially, like with it being, Mackay hasn't been affected too much, compared to other areas of Australia, but have you seen an increase in running?
Yeah, look, definitely. There was a lot of interest in things that weren't like organised sports. So when gyms closed and when team sports couldn't happen anymore, people still wanted to do something, and it led to people, riding bikes and running a lot more than or going for a walk, more so than they had done before. And one of the really beautiful things from that is they were doing it, as families. So, they were sort of saying, okay, we can't go and play with our mates, so we'll just go out for a walk together, and maybe we'll buy some bikes for the kids or whatever it might be. So it was good.
I think for me personally, I spent majority of the lockdown last year in Melbourne, and for me, I found running then, and I'm glad I did because I'm continuing it today. But before that, I hated running. It was the last thing I wanted to do, and I'd only run, whether it was with football training and a sprint up and back, and whatever was involved in training at the time. And but I think it did give me purpose last year as well, and I think that's probably one thing that running can do for people is you find purpose, have a bit of a commitment, set some goals, and then also the positive changes that you see and feel.
Yeah, and look, I think that a lot of people come into running not as their main focus. So it might be something that you do as your sport. But very often in sport, running's a punishment, So if the coach thinks you're not working hard enough with the footy, well, it's, do laps of the footy field. So so when people then do start running, it's interesting that they find out a lot about themselves. Because you're not part of a team anymore. You're out there on your own. You might be running with friends, but it's you that's putting the effort in. And then when you start to see, well, I get the reward for that effort, and running's very good with that. There's no equipment. It's just you. So if you put the hard yards in, you will get better.
And so some of those things and tools to use, especially a mindset while you're running to push through those barriers, those mental barriers. Sometimes you feel like maybe I can't go on anymore, but you find a way and you push through. And I have a story. I used to just walk the dog a lot around the park where I used to live, and I always see the runners running. And I stopped to chat to one guy at the end of his run and asked me how far he was running, and I was just very interested at the time. But he made a comment to me that he never finished a run that he didn't enjoy, and that resonated with me because at the time I hated running.
Yep.
So I think when you're in those moments too, if you're running a long distance and you feel like you want to stop, but you have that discussion to yourself at the time upstairs and push through. What are some of the techniques you use or tell other people to use to do those hard moments?
Yeah, it's interesting because you, like I say, you find out a lot about yourself. But sometimes, if people are going for a long run, and you were talking before about going for a run and perhaps having some friends join you for certain sections, but I'll sometimes say have your imaginary friend with you. So take that friend with you. Physically, they might not be there, but for the first 30 minutes or the first hour, then bring old mate with you who's going to just have a chat and keep you company, have a bit of a laugh. And then as you get a bit further on, you might need someone, and one of their qualities or your relationship with that person might be that they will, give you a kick in the pants when you need it. So if you were starting to think, can I do this? Am I too old? Am I too slow? Have I trained enough? Then that's the sort of person that you want with you to sort of say, right, come on, let's just keep on going, push through this next little bit, And then usually towards the end, it's going to be more towards the reasons why you do things. So it might be, to be a role model in your community, to be a good parent or something like that. So you might bring your family in as your imaginary friends to come along with you for that part of the runs. Yeah,
great. And I think it also brings you a lot of happiness as well. All forms of exercise. Whether you're working out in the gym, riding a bike, going for a run. It's about finding happiness with what you're doing as well, and relating to that purpose and the why. And visualization too is something that we've touched on in this podcast before too. But I think visualization, even before you start, can be really powerful. As a self and also in a third person, because sometimes you can be defeated before you start. So if you have the positive self-talk and the visualization of you achieving certain goals and running, it can go along and be very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, some of that is there's days when you don't feel like you want to go out for a run, but you know that if you do it, you're going to feel better, like you were saying with your mate in the park. You know, and often half the battle is putting your shoes on. You know, once you've laced up, then you're halfway there. So, you know, just step outside the door and make a start, and away you go. So, I think it's sometimes when you're sort of thinking, oh, I don't know if I can do this today. If you can just visualize how good you're going to feel at the end, because you always feel better after the run. You know, you never get to the end and think, geez, I wish I hadn't bothered. So, if you can just sort of visualize that, okay, well, what's this going to feel like? How is this going to, you know, impact on my day? We had a lady that was training with us for a while, a few years back, and she was approaching her wedding day, and she wanted to sort of fit into the dress and look beautiful and be healthy. And she said to me one morning, she said, you know, on days when I go for a run in the morning, I always have a good day. You know, so I'm thinking, well, that's the same for all of us, you know, so why don't we prioritize this? Why don't we, you know, get out, you know, get out, get running, you know, be outside, get outside and do something active, because it will impact on the rest of your day. You know, instead of just waking up and staying on the sofa with that cup of tea. And
yeah, so relating to that then, what are some tips for people to commit to running? You know, whether it's setting goals or learning from past experiences where they, you know, didn't quite get there, and also not giving up when starting out. I think, you know, it can be hard too. You're running, like, especially when you start. You know, it is hard, but I think once you get over the hill, you're on your way.
Yeah, and look, the easiest way that I've found is to have a buddy or a group. So, because then you just sort of got that commitment that, okay, well, I've said I'm going to meet someone at this time at this place, so I need to be there. If it's just step out the door on your own, it is definitely harder. But if there's a time and a place to be there to meet, you know, a buddy or a group, then that'll make a difference. But yeah, if you can sort of set some goals, so it's like everything. It's just like chunk things down. So, you know, if you want to achieve something, you're probably not going to go from, you know, A to B straight away. So work out what are the steps required to, you know,
so if
to
your goal is to run 5K or 10K as an example, you know, where should people start?
Yeah, it can be as simple as, you know, go out and take a walk. So you know, I've got people, they'll sometimes contact me. They're thinking about coming to some of our group sessions, but they're not sure if they'd fit in or if they'd be able to keep up or if they'd be fast enough. And usually I'll say, look, can you run a kilometre at this stage? And for most people it's yes, but for some it's no. But we had one lady and she could run 300 metres when she first came to, you know, without having to stop and take a break.
Yeah.
And probably within about 12 months, she ran 30 kilometres at an event.
Wow.
What
an achievement, though! Like,
absolutely,
from 300 metres to 30 kilometres.
Yeah, and the impact that that's had on the rest of our life is huge.
And her family and friends.
Absolutely, yeah. And then other people think, well, if she can do it, why can't I do it? So the ripple effect is there as well. So, but yeah, sometimes it's just break things down into little steps, and it's the same when you're in those longer runs and you have any dark thoughts. Just deal with what's in front of you right now. Don't worry about what's coming. Just deal with this kilometre.
Yeah.
And then when you get into the next kilometre, you deal with that kilometre.
Yeah, be in the moment.
And
you've talked to me about before. You do a pub to pub run. So talk to me a little bit more about that. Like, why do you do it? What's the importance of it? And tell us a little bit more about it. Yeah,
look, it's really just very, very casual, and it started off me and a mate. He was having a bit of a tough time with life, and I sort of said, "Come on, we'll go out for half an hour. We'll just go for a little jog, and then we'll go for a beer." And we had a good time. We had a good chat, and obviously nice to catch up and have a beer. We just had one. And then we said, well, why don't we do it again next week, but we'll try a different bar. And then we did it again the next week from a different bar. And then other people started to see what we were doing and said, can we come too? Which, yeah, absolutely, everybody can. So now it's it just looks after itself now. So basically, there's a little messenger group that just posts, okay, next week's pub run's going to be at, whatever pub.
Yeah.
We just meet up and we see who's there. And some people go for a walk and some people take their dog, and some people go for a run. So
is it like an out and back to that same pub, or is it from one pub to another pub?
Oh, we just from one pub, yeah. So but we select a different pub each week. So yeah, so we meet at the pub, and we'll go for a run. Sometimes it's out and back, sometimes it's a little loop. We just sort of work it out when we get there. We see who's there, and I quite like the out and back, because then regardless of whether you want to run or walk or how fast you want to run, everybody sort of starts to catch up with each other on the way back. and we all get back to the pub at the same time. So we're exercising for half an hour. We go in and we have a beer, and some people want to stay for a counter lunch, but a counter meal rather. But usually it's just a quick stubby and a catch up. So I think it's
have a chat.
It's really good. So where I'm starting to lead that to now is, if you come to pub running, you enjoy it, bring along a friend. So help a friend who's going through tough times. Bring them along. It might be that they're physically out of shape or mentally out of shape, or both, because we all know those people that just need a little bit of something. And I'm conscious of the fact that there's a pub involved, but we're going for one beer. It's not like we're having a big session. So it's like we'll come and have some social interaction, some outdoors activity, and it's got to be good. So if everybody can bring a pal along,
I like it.
In their time of need.
It's the message behind it. It's not about the beer. It's about the conversation.
Absolutely.
You're having. So I really like it. So a little bit more on the run, and how can people get involved? Probably in your groups, if they don't know about On the Run already, and maybe any events that are coming up around Mackay that are big ones. I know Marina Run's are probably the biggest in Mackay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Marina Run's is the big one. That's the first weekend in June every year. So with On the Run, we do some group coaching sessions. I do a little bit of one-on-one, but prefer the group sessions. We can sort of have an impact on more people that way. We also have lots of social runs, so pretty much every day there's groups of people running in Mackay, and there's lots of groups as well as On the Run that offer that sort of social outdoor exercise type thing. So there's Mackay Road Runners, there's Park Run that we've mentioned, there's Lazy Runners that was mentioned. There's a couple of different triathlon clubs that do some running at times. So there's lots of avenues for people to get out and have a run. They can contact me, just reach out, or if you see somebody out for a run, just say, go and start running with them. They're probably going to be like open to having a bit of a chat as they go. So and like I say, we're very big on making things all inclusive. So we do have people that can barely run. We've got people that are still at school. We've got people that are in their 70s that run with us. We've got people that are very speedy, and we just like to look after everybody.
So Mackay has got a really good running community that I've seen, and evidence from what you've told us today. But talks a little bit more about Mackay's running community, and also the positive benefits. We've touched on a lot of that already. I guess maybe just talk about the running community of Mackay and probably further to On the Run and the store. Like you obviously identify really well with the running community in Mackay and what it probably means to you.
Yeah, look, I find people do come in to see me at the store, and often it's just for information more so than equipment or shoes or shirts or socks or whatever. It's if they're looking at an event that they want to go to, they want to know, okay, well, how does this work, and what would I need to take with me, what training would I need to do, or I've got this issue, I've got this spot on my foot that's sore, or I'm chafing a bit, or whatever it might be. So always make sure your toenails are cut, all that sort of stuff. So it's information. So I like the fact that people come in, and I really sort of found that when we had that little bit of a lockdown, when you were in Melbourne, we did have a little mini lockdown here for a little while, and it sort of hit me initially quite hard, because I felt like I'd lost a purpose. When we couldn't get together in groups, and businesses were closing down, and I was sad for the town. Having been the chair of the Chamber of Commerce previously, to see a lot of businesses sort of having to close their doors, and knowing that some of them may never open again, and I struggled with, okay, well, where am I? Because people are still going to work at schools and hospitals and driving trains, but what do I do? Sell socks and tell jokes. People don't need me anymore. So then I thought, well, the shop can still be there, and if people need somewhere to come and talk, then I can make tea and talk, and so that's what I did, and the shop was open pretty much 6 days a week, just if people wanted to drop in, which happened a fair bit. So I understand that people do, sometimes want to just come and talk through life issues as well as running issues, but so often the two can be the two can be connected.
Mm.
You know that, and I see it all the time that when people get an injury, it's often because they're tense with other things in life. So it might be that work's busy, and they try and sort of push their running too hard, and that's when they'll get an injury. Whereas when they're running really well, usually the rest of their life is in sync as well. So so it's interesting how it all flows in together.
Some of the excuses that you do hear from people is they don't have enough time.
Mm-hmm.
How do people find the time?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you make the time. You prioritise it. You know, and a wise fella said to me once. He said, "We've all got 24 hours in a day. You know, and it's up to us how we slice it up." So, yeah, if it's important, you'll get it done.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I do find that by going out and running in the morning, it becomes a little bit like meditation. That you then are more effective and efficient through the rest of your day. So, for me, it's a morning thing. It's just get up before anything happens, and it's just you go into autopilot and you just get out and do it, and then before the rest of the world has woken up, you've already achieved something. You know.
So what time do you normally wake?
4 o'clock.
4?
4 o'clock.
Yeah,
Get up.
and straight out the door.
No, I like to get up and I'll sort of give myself a little bit of time. So I'll have my cup of coffee and I'll just check the news from overnight.
Yeah.
There's usually a few messages waiting for me because I tend to turn the phone off about sort of 7:30. I'll have a look through to see if there's anything urgent there, and it's usually sort of 5 o'clock that I start running. But usually with mates, I'll go somewhere, meet up with some friends.
What's your average
and go for a run
during the week?
Yeah, look, it does vary, but I'd say probably average about 10 a day
Mm-hmm.
through the course of the week. Yeah. So.
Yeah, great. And then people that do run a lot, run often, far distances can experience runner's high.
Mm-hmm.
So talk us a little bit about what runner's high is and if you've experienced it.
Yeah, it can be elusive at times, and it's not something you experience with every run by any means. But sometimes people say to me that they don't enjoy running, and I'll say, well, it's just because you're not running enough. If you keep doing it, you get to that point where, you know, you are enjoying it. So, which is also, the more you do it, the better you get, sort of thing. You know, whether you're learning to play the trumpet or learning to run, you know, if you do it more often, you're going to get better at it, sort of thing. But yeah, the run is high. Sometimes when you're doing the longer runs, like I say, you find out a lot about yourself, and I think that deep down inside of us, there's a need to put ourselves into dark holes or difficult situations and then find a way out. And I think that running long distances, you know, achieves that. Usually when people have been going for 3 hours or more, that's when they start to, you know, have all those strange thoughts, and certainly, I mean, some events go on for days on end, and you hear stories about people that they're hallucinating and all sorts of things. So I've never quite pushed things to that extreme, but yeah, if you can get to that point where you just feel like you want to laugh out loud, or you're just sort of having, you know, the most amazing time. Yeah, it's an incredible feeling. It doesn't happen very often, but yeah, people go chasing it and looking for it, and
yeah, 'cause especially after a run, you do feel great, and it's that release of endorphins and the chemical from the blood to the brain, and I guess that's why it can become addictive too, running.
Oh yeah, absolutely, it's addictive. Yeah, so and you find that when runners get injured, and they can't go for a run, it's very easy for them to get, you know, down about life. Yeah, that's where it's important. For me, I keep an eye on those people and encourage them to come along for like a cup of coffee. They can do the social bit even if they can't do the physical bit. Or you know, we're at the new track by the university every Wednesday morning, and I encourage people, if they can't run, come and walk. At least you're there with everyone and feel part of it. So
Probably a little bit off topic. We haven't touched on this before, but have you reached out and got connections with any of the mental health agencies in Mackay?
Yeah, a little bit. So there's some stuff I started doing with. There's a run coming up actually in a couple of weeks' time out at Walkerston, Run for My Life, and I spoke to the lady, Jo Shanks, that organises that, and said, look, maybe we should be doing something together here. And we tried for a little while to get a walking group together, which just didn't really take off. But it turns out there's already quite a number of walking groups, which my avenue there was just for people that are feeling down about life, because Run for My Life is about raising money and awareness for suicide prevention. Then there's another group that's more recently popped up called Real Mates Talk. So they seem to be doing a lot of good work. So yeah, I've got some connections there with people that I know. So yeah, that's definitely something that I think that would feed into the pub run sort of concept. There's a couple that have got a mobile coffee shop called Mad Cow Coffee, and a big part of their philosophy about life is they lost a son to suicide, is about having a cuppa and a conversation. So yeah, we do some work with them, and on a regular basis we get them to come to our venue at the end of a run, so that when people have finished their run, the coffee van's there, and we just sort of stop and take a moment and have a chat. So
it's good connections.
So yeah, absolutely, and I think it's important for people to know that they can talk about stuff. It's not just about running. It's not just about who's the fastest or who can get to the top of the hill the quickest or whatever. So
yeah. I think I'd like to probably finish on just a little bit of a story from you of one of your probably hardest runs or longest runs, or what is your longest run first, and then also have you got any stories inside that event?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I've ran 100 kilometres twice, and I've got
Where were they?
First one was in Sydney.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a story about that one in a moment. And the second one was around town here. It was supposed to be in the Blue Mountains, and that got COVID cancelled. So we made our own fun, and we did it around town here, which was a cold, miserable day in May of last year. And but yeah, we just got it done. So I've got another one coming up in about 10 days' time. So on the sunny coast, we'll see how that goes. But the one down in Sydney was 2015. It was called the Anzac Day Challenge. It was 100 kilometres to represent the 100 years of Anzac, and both my daughters went on a trip to Gallipoli through the school, and my eldest one was just sort of going through that. So she was doing a lot of research and stuff into soldiers and World War I at the time, and this event popped up, and I thought, okay, well that's the one for me. So it was going to be through the national parks to the north of Sydney, Ku-ring-gai National Park, and a few days beforehand, so it was due to be on a Saturday. The Wednesday evening, I got an email came through to say they'd had some terrible storms down there. There was floods, there was trees down. They couldn't even access the track to see if it was safe to have the event on there, so they obviously couldn't have it on there. So they were thinking about cancelling it, but they knew that a lot of people had trained for it, had booked travel, and there was the connection to the Anzac spirit as well. So they wanted to give the option to people, if they wanted to go ahead, then they still could, but it was going to be at St Ives Showgrounds, around a 656 metre track, 155 times.
That's a little bit different.
So it took a little bit of getting my head around that, but I still felt that I needed to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, travel down and
how'd you approach it?
Went round. I wanted to make a bit of a start, so I probably got about 30 kilometres into it before I took a little break, and it took about 20 minutes, and just had something to eat, and then pushed on again through to 60 Ks, another little short break, and had something to eat, and then as I was about to get back on the track and get going again, I rang my wife just to let her know that I'm going okay, and she said, "Oh, good on you, babe." She said, "Only a marathon to go," and that stopped me dead in my tracks, and I thought, no, and I said, there's not. There's 2 half marathons. I'm going to be okay, and just chunked it down, and so that's what I did. As I ran out to 80 kilometres, took another short break for 10 minutes, and then went again for the last 20. So, but at about 80 Ks, there was like a storm with hail and lightning and thunder, and everybody around me was just shattered because they hated it because they were just feeling miserable anyway, and then the weather turned against them, and they're just like, and like my thoughts were with the soldiers at Gallipoli from 100 years ago, and thinking, well, this is hail, they had bullets, I'm going home tonight, they never got that chance, so I actually found I managed to, in my mind, turn things around, and I used it to be uplifting, because I think those boys never had the opportunity to go home, but I knew I was going back to a hotel bed that night, sort of thing. So yeah.
Wow, what an effort! How'd you feel after it?
Yeah, it was bizarre afterwards, because I got back to the hotel and didn't know what to do, and I've gone to the bar and I got a beer, and I took 2 mouthfuls of the beer, and then I thought, it doesn't even taste nice. I don't want that. And the restaurant was closed, so I couldn't get anything to eat. So I went back to the room, and I probably slept for about 3 or 4 hours. I think there was just so much, adrenaline and sugar going through my body that I couldn't sleep for long. So I got up in the middle of the night and just started walking around the streets in London. I probably walked about 15 kilometres waiting for the coffee shops to open so I can get some breakfast the next day. So
Yeah, right.
yeah, it was interesting.
I'm interested, not sure if anyone else will be, but what did you eat during your event?
Yep.
In your 30k mark and your 60k mark.
Yeah, so I had some bananas, had some salted macadamias, had some rice, so you can get little cups of cooked rice. Had some of that, just cold, and because it was round in circles, they had little camp thingy set up, so yeah, a cup of tea.
Yeah,
so.
Very good. And so you got one in couple of weeks' time.
A week on Saturday.
Sunny Coast.
A week on Saturday down the
1
sunny
week.
coast. Yes.
So what's your training been like for that?
Ooh. lots of hills.
Yeah. Where are the hills here that you go to run?
Yeah. So Youngle is good. Lots of hills and trails up there. Big network of trails. But we had a bit of an adventure day on Monday. It was the holiday Monday this week. So I went out to Mount Blackwood. And then came into the Leap, which was a hike rather than a run, but a good tester on the quads, up the Leap, and then came a bit further into Bonson Scrub Road or Ian Redcliffe Drive, and ran up there, and then finished up at Black Mountain near Farley. So we sort of did 4 runs on hills, sort of back to back, just drove in between. So
yeah, great. And is that called the Blackall 100?
Blackall 100, that's the one. Yeah.
Oh, well, good luck. Can we follow your progress?
Thank you. Actually, somebody else was asking that. I don't think they've got a live tracking, but yeah, there's quite a few from Mackay going down for it, so there'll be some social media stuff going up about it. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So where can everyone find you, Marty, online? Have you got your website and social pages?
Yeah. So the website's ontherunmackay.com.au, and they can email me at marty@ontherunmackay.com.au. We've got Facebook and Insta as well. So hop on, give us a shout, get in touch, come for a run, come to pub run, have a beer, have a chat.
Get up, get out, go running.
Exactly right, exactly.
Well, I've loved the conversation, Marty, just because I'm loving running at the moment too. So I again appreciate you coming in, making the time, and telling everyone about the importance of getting out and exercising.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Mitch.
All right, thank you.
Change the game. Proudly brought to you by the QCCS Mackay Cutters.